yes, I think all of us have to admit that it's a very, very difficult situation for the parent. But yes, exposure does work. Yes, I quite agree. And you have to prepare the child for that.
I see.
I think the whole classroom and the whole school will be disturbed if the child is sort of crying aloud and screaming and refusing to go. So it has to be, in case of children, of course, it has to be taken in a graded way. So perhaps children who have very severe phobia for school may have to be accompanied by the parent because they feel safe, and the school should give permission for the parent to accompany the child for a little while till the child feel a bit safer. Then perhaps even without going into the classroom may sit somewhere else and do the lessons, and then gradually move into the classroom. So it can be done in a graded way, so that the child is not made to feel that massive distress. So even a graded exposure that way can be helpful, because the main intention is not to let the child lose too much school time, and then of course if it is a fear of exams or schoolwork or something like that, that is going to get worse, because now the child has missed schoolwork. Now he would feel he's now unable to catch up, and then things can get worse. So that shouldn't
sort of compounding effect.
Compounding effect.
See.
Yes, exactly.
So we're going from, let's go from specific phobias like the fear of cockroaches and the fear of going to school to something more general, such as social phobia.
Yes. I would like to add a few more emotions or feelings that people experience, particularly when they have social phobias. I would like to say that, feelings of shame, embarrassment are very common, especially when you are with other people. And those types of emotions or feelings can also affect one's level of self-esteem and self-confidence and things like that. And in the long term, if these phobias are chronic and they are not dealt with or treated, phobias can actually convert into psychosomatic disorders.
If you could elaborate.
Psychosomatic in the sense they could result in physical symptoms where people might actually experience some physical symptoms, diseases, as a result of these extreme anxiety levels that they're experiencing. Somatoform disorders, which is again a kind of physical disease that they might believe that they have because of these phobia reactions. And sometimes it can also lead to personality disorders in people. Yes.
So again, I'm guessing that this comes about when the compounding effect that Professor Himali spoke about happened earlier, where one phobia leads to another phobia, which just leads to a complete change in someone's personality. So let's speak about social phobias and how they come about, and really what are the categories that you can discuss under them, and how would you give your definition of a social phobia?
Well, the main social phobia is, I think, as we discussed earlier, was mentioned earlier, is the fear of leaving the house. So it's a fear of open spaces, sometimes called agoraphobia, the fear of crowded places, and the fear and the feeling that when you are at home you are safe. If you go out of the house, you are in danger. And meeting people, being in crowded people or with groups is unsafe or dangerous. Another common social phobia is shyness. You see, so people have extreme levels of shyness, and that shyness can be manifested even in normal social situations like parties, weddings, when you go for various meetings. If you are asked to talk or you are asked to make comments, you are not in a position to do that. And because of that shyness, now sometimes shyness can also come due to other factors like Professor was mentioning, factors like family background.
Sorry, Doctor, I think I have to interrupt you there because we have to go for a very short break. But on the note that you were speaking about social events such as parties, now right after the break we'll be going into a video about how you can really overcome your fear of interacting at a party and coming out of your shell. So we'll get to that right after the break. But if you're just near your smartphone or your tablet and you're logged on to Facebook, then go on our Facebook page and give us a like and tell us how much you like our show, and give us any comments that you have. That's www.facebook.com/Good Morning Sri Lanka, and send us your feedback at mtvsports@maharaja.lk. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us on Good Morning Sri Lanka.
Like social interactions, they just prefer to be with a small group of friends. Research shows that from a very young age, introverts react to things in a very different way than extroverts do. Introverts have a low threshold for external stimulation. They get their nourishment from internal stimulation, reading, thinking, listening to music, and they're drained by external interactions. A lot of people, loud noises, a party. On the other hand, extroverts feed off of these types of situations, and they grow unhappy without them. Because introverts are in the minority, in fact it's less than a third of the population, they're forced to live in an extrovert's world. They have to go to big parties and make small talk. Essentially, they're forced to do all of the things that drain them on a regular basis. Hey, there are plenty of benefits to being an introvert, and we're not saying that you should change who you are or walk around the party with a scarlet eye on your chest. But because we can't always avoid these situations, we're going to talk about how to handle them with the least amount of stress and anxiety. Step 1, plan your escape. Okay, hey, calm down. We're not saying that you're necessarily even going to need it, but just having a tailor-made excuse for leaving in your back pocket will keep your anxiety down. It can be anything from, oh, sorry, I have another party that I'm supposed to be at, to, oh, I'm really sorry, I got a migraine. Step 2, locate your on-deck circle. Alright, so when you walk into the party, the first thing you should do is scan the surroundings for somewhere you can retreat to if things get a little too overwhelming. Hey, this could be a balcony, a bedroom, a hallway, even the great outdoors. Step 3, give yourself a task. Hey, if you're worried about not knowing what to do at a party, help the host with whatever they need to get done. Pick up cups, help pass out food, anything. Not only will this give you a set agenda for the night, you'll be able to socialize with a wide variety of people without being tied down to one long, possibly incredibly awkward conversation. Step 4, when in doubt, find other introverts. Look for a small cluster of people and attach yourself to them. Odds are you'll have a lot more in common with them and a lot more to talk about. Step 5, know when to give yourself a break. If you're too overwhelmed or uncomfortable, use that out that's waiting in your back pocket. It's completely okay to leave the situation, especially if it's not doing anything for you. Also, be sure to plan some alone time the next day so you can recover.
So, are these a set of steps that you would recommend to any of your patients who are undergoing these things like social phobia?
Well, it depends. Again, just like exposure was the main active ingredient in treatment, in any kind of phobia, here we are talking about social phobia. Yeah, social phobia is also called social anxiety, where you find it difficult to be in the center of attention of other people. It may be a party where when you talk, other people look at you and listen, or it may be just talking to a stranger, or making a speech to a group of people. The basic underlying pathology, or what is really wrong here, is you can talk about all these different symptoms and then these different tips to help you out. The basic pathology, what is basically wrong with you is called self-consciousness. That is, you're too aware of yourself. Right? I mean, it's a party and you're supposed to go there and have fun and meet perhaps new friends, new people, or meet old friends and have a good time. Instead of doing that, you are too conscious about yourself. Am I in the right dress, or am I wearing the right attire? Do I speak the right words? And you know, that person had a little nasty wink or whatever, was he or she thinking about me in a negative way? The person may have not even noticed you, but you start thinking every little thing that you notice is in relation to you. So you are very self-conscious. When that happens, life becomes very, very difficult. And then this introvert thing, and you know, how to survive party and everything comes in. But if you can reduce that and try to start paying attention to others and the fun you are going to have, again, that is you know, kind of the basic active ingredient of all these steps in a way.
See, so don't just imagine yourself somewhere outside looking at what's happening from a third party view. Just enjoy yourself. That's the key, is it?
And start perhaps observing others rather than yourself.
But
yes, I think well, there is a slight difference between that was an interesting self-help guide for the introvert. There's a slight difference between the introvert and the social phobic person.
okay.
The introvert will find it very difficult to meet the needs, expectations of that social situation. But even a self-help guide might not be very useful for a phobic person.
I see.
Might completely avoid going to the party, really, because that will be far too much demand on the person's emotions to be able to face that situation. But all those strategies seems quite interesting actually for people to pick up when you're a kind of shy person who so introvert is mainly a kind of a shy person who is not outgoing,
as opposed to a not completely phobic person.
That's right. Yes,
I see. So there is a very big difference.
Yeah.
But how does a phobia tie in with a disease like autism, for example?
Yes. Now, autism is really a neurological disorder in the brain.
Okay.
And it can also be a genetic predisposed disorder, genetically predisposed. And autism is a very complex kind of disorder, you see, and I don't see much connection between phobia and autism.
I see. So it's
But see, a lot of autistic people tend to be introverts. That is there. So many autistic people are really introverts. They are not extroverts. Therefore they might suffer from social phobia, social anxiety. It seems that a lot of introverts have this problem of social anxiety or phobia, while they might have specific phobias for certain things or certain objects or events or situations, very specific phobias or simple phobias as they are called. Yes, so in general autistic people do tend to have an introverted personality.
But again, autism is a separate type of mental disorder compared to what a phobia is.
Separate personality kind of disorder also.
All right.
Yes.
So if we go on to something you mentioned earlier, Doctor, which was agoraphobia.
Yeah.
Now you said that this is the complete opposite actually of social phobia. So if you could elaborate more about what an agoraphobic goes through on a daily basis.
Agoraphobia is probably not very common, or either they do not tend to realize that this is a condition which I need help for and come to doctors. Agoraphobia is a condition where the person, as we described earlier, the person is not very happy to go out of a place where he or she feels safe. And then all the behaviors, the avoidance associated with that. What really happens here is that the person is scared of not being able to cope with whatever that might happen if he or she does not have his or her regular secure base, which is usually home. So, there's nothing particularly wonderful which is at home which helps you to cope with a heart attack or whatever, but you feel that if you're at home you're safe. So when you leave home, you won't a part of home with you,
Okay.
which may be your dog,